rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start. Physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Welcome to episode number 100 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. So listen, I was trying to get a couple really cool people on the show for the 100th and make it super exciting, and well, that didn't happen. I'm only kidding, guys. You know what? It's a heck of a milestone. The word heck. When do I ever fucking use the word heck? It's a hell of a milestone in the podcast industry to have 100. If you look at a lot of podcasts out there, and I'm not saying I'm better than anyone and stuff, I just look at what's out there and some of the goals that we had. If we look back, you know, we started this back in June, I believe. You know, it was the 2 podcasts a day, record 3 to 5 podcasts a week. 2 podcasts a week to come out and record 3 to 5 podcasts a week so that we're always being able to be consistent, put out some cool stuff. Knowing full well at the beginning, we're going to be a little dodgy, a little stumbly and stuff like that. So now we're a lot smoother. We're still dodgy, but we're a lot smoother with things. We're getting good feedback. We've got a cool following and it's growing, and I really like what's happening. But I want to take a minute and just congratulate ourselves on 100 episodes. Luke, Podcast Wagon, thank you very much. It's awesome. It's these little milestones or big milestones, however you want to phrase it, that just make us able to go to the next level. You know, the first couple of podcasts I started in 2013, like I talk about every once in a while, I got 8 or 9 in, they were cool, but then I just shit the bed, got busy, and just lost that consistency. So one of the big things for me here was to really focus on becoming much more consistent with the podcast, because I believe that's what creates more value for it. I also believe that when you find a podcast you like listening to, nothing worse than going, where's the last episode? And it's like 5 weeks ago and stuff like that. You know, consistency is super important. But also that consistency has made me better, and not just better at podcasting. I think we've gotten better and we've improved, and that's just going off the feedback from you guys, which is great. I'm always honored when someone comes up and lets me know that they're listening to the podcast and, oh, listen, I love that comment you did the other day and stuff. And, you know, it's cool because, you know, we want to have that. That's the effect we want to have. I get messages now that people are finding that it's helping them and it's motivating them, and they're getting a lot from it, and they look forward to the episodes. And that's a big honor, big responsibility, and it's motivating me. And I've said it before, you know, the podcasts are as much for me as they are for you guys, because it's forcing me to become better at what I'm doing, right? Not just in the message, but also in living up to that message. And to me, that's got super tremendous value for myself that I wouldn't have gotten, and I didn't get in 2013 when I had a few episodes and then I stopped, did a few episodes and then I stopped. I think in 13 episodes we had 3, hey, we're back. I'm like, fuck, where do we go? It's 13 episodes, right? That kind of thing. So that to me is just, those are just signs that I'm doing a better job in the commitment to myself and to you guys. So that's pretty exciting. And I want to do 500 more, 1,000 more. I really, really enjoy this platform. And it's opening up other doors. We're seeing some cool things. We've got some great interviews that have happened. We have more interviews that are happening. People are listening to us, and that's really, really sharp. I feel it in the gym. I feel it with my clients. I just, it's really cool. And I think that's the other thing that we need to drive home, is that no matter what you want to do, whatever your endeavor is, your passion, your side gig, there's a lot of people out there that do the 9 to 5 because that's just, they got to get paid and they got to pay the bills and stuff. But, that's not what they truly want to have happen, right? That's not the thing they really want to be doing and stuff like that. So hopefully, they get motivated enough and they start doing something on the side, the side gig, the side hustle, the sidepreneur thing, if that's your thing. So if you want to sit there and fucking, make little gnomes, then make gnomes, man, if that's your thing. But fucking be really good at making gnomes and be consistent at making gnomes, so people out there can find you and hear about you and to, enjoy your gnomes. And that's the same thing with the podcast. It's the same thing with the gym or with the brand Hostile. We've got a lot of cool stuff happening, right? I want us to be successful, but I know I'm only going to be successful if I get the right people in our circle. And the right people means the people that are going to benefit from our message, benefit from what we teach, benefit from our training, benefit from, what we're trying to do, which is help people, right? This podcast is for guys over 40. I have a lot of female listeners. I know that. But my business, my gym, Hostile Conditioning, is for men and women over 40. We're growing every year. We've got cool people joining. We're transforming lives. We're helping people achieve amazing things. Who doesn't want to be part of that? Right? So I can sit back and say, I'm blessed and I am. And I can sit back and say, hey, it's really happening, and it is. But it's the consistency that made all the difference. Right? It's the consistency in doing it and knowing, listen, I got podcasts coming in Friday, Luke's coming in on Friday, and I got to have some cool stuff to talk about. So if we look back at the earlier podcasts, the content was good, but I feel the content is improving more now because I'm putting more effort into it. I'm getting more excited, more momentum. We're getting better at it. We're getting suggestions. That doesn't happen on episode 1 unless you already have a big following, right? So you don't get there. You don't get to this point unless you started further back, right? One of the cool things that we're doing, and this is sort of I wouldn't say a spin-off, but this platform and being consistent with this has made me do something that I've wanted to do for a long time. Again, this is coming out in May, and right now we're February. But about a week ago, I started these 5 a.m. videos. And what I do is just when I get to the gym, I open up around 5:30. I get there about 5:15. And what I've been doing is just taking a camera, going to a spot in the gym, and just talking about something for 2 to 4 minutes. The snippet, the manifesto, the things we believe, the things that are important, that little pep talk. And, already we've got one called Just Get Up. The next one we did was Show Up. The third one was Be Consistent. 4 was Courageous Patience. Things that we've actually already talked about in the podcast, but little shorties, little snippets, right? Grin and Bear It. If you go back to episode number 98, I believe, or 99. Sorry, 99, the one we just recorded before this. It talks longer about grinning and bearing, about going through the pain, acknowledge the pain, get through it, get to the other side, right? So as I'm preparing content for our podcast, I'm also at a point where I'm like, hey, this would be a great little 2-minute boost in the morning, right? One of the ones we just did that I firmly believe, it's called You're the Fucking Problem. We'll podcast about that a little later on, how we are our own worst enemy. We are the bottleneck. We are the problem, meaning that once we get better and solve some of the stuff we have to deal with, we're the ones holding ourselves back from getting to where we really want to go. This morning was really cool. So again, February, we did one called Don't Worry About Being Perfect. Just, hey, listen, you want to do something? Just fucking do it. Get out there. Start it. Don't worry that it's not going to be great to start. It's actually kind of cool. It ties into today's 100th episode because the 100th episode wouldn't have happened without my first episode. So I had to stop worrying about being perfect and understand it's about getting started, taking action, and just doing and being consistent. And that if you just do and be consistent, it's inevitable you're going to get better. Right? Next one I'm going to do tomorrow morning is called the imposter syndrome. We've talked about that in the podcast. So it's cool because a lot of the other podcasts we've done up till now, I'll go back and I'm like, hey, that would be a great little 2-minute thing in 5 a.m. But this is something I wanted to do for a couple of years now. It was suggested to me about 2 or 3 years ago. Hey, how about doing these things? The hostiles, we're looking at building our vision and what we stood for and who our client was, our avatar. We talked about creating a manifesto, like the 10 commandments of hostile. And then once we knew what those were, just talk briefly, 1 to 2 minutes, 2 to 4 minutes on it, right? And just sort of help people understand us, get to know us, know, like, and trust. We want to hang out with people that we know, like, and trust. We want to do business with people that we know, like, and trust. And if we know, like, and trust someone, we're going to listen to them more. We're going to take their advice. We're going to want to be part of what they're doing, right? That's how you chose a best friend, right? Hopefully that's how you chose a spouse or a partner, because they created some know, like, and trust. And if they didn't do it, or you didn't do it based on know, like, and trust, odds are that's why you're having problems in your relationships. Again, at home, with your friends. You weren't true to yourself, so you made those decisions based on who you thought you should be. Right? We all been in those situations where like, yeah, you know what? I just said, yeah, I do that because I didn't want to be alone. Whereas when we're sitting there, a lot of times when relationships break up, and I don't just mean like romantic relationships. I mean business relationships, friendships, acquaintances. The issue that caused it to break up was always there. And most times we knew it was there early on, but we thought, whatever, I can deal with it. Or, other than that, she's not so bad or he's not so bad. But our spider sense tingled and it told us. Or we were just fucking oblivious because we weren't very adulted. We weren't very refined ourselves. We were fucking maniacs, right? Like I think, 3 years plus sober, I look at things a lot different than I did when I was not sober, right? I see things differently. I see things clearly. I see things deeper. I see myself more clearly, more deeperish, deeper, English, good, right? Nothing but the best for you guys here at the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. But you know what? At the end of the day, I believe this is all possible because of the 100th episode. To me, that's the biggest value this 100th episode has for the Hostile brand, for the Silverback Blueprint Podcast, for you guys listening, for myself, is that we got to 100 episodes. And I know when we get to 200 episodes, it's going to be even better. You'll be better. We'll have more listeners that want to get better. I'll be better. The brand will be better. The whole fucking world's going to be better. Because we stuck to something and we kept going. You look at anyone that's extremely successful in whatever field they're in. No one fell into it. No one fell into it. No one sees the shit they went through to get to it. How they had to change circles, how they had to change relationships, how they had to change. But they just decided they were going to fucking accept nothing less than getting as far as they can towards their goal. Fighting for their purpose. This 100th episode is going to allow us to get to 200. It's going to allow us to get to 500. It's going to allow us to get to 1,000 episodes. I'll tell you right now, thinking about 500 episodes now is a lot of a smaller goal than it was at episode 7. Thinking about getting to 100. 100 seemed really fucking far away. Now I'm like 100. Seems like just we started the other day. But we're 8 months in. 8 months in. 8 months goes fast, and the older we get, the faster that shit gets, right? So let's do the shit we want to do. Let's do what we really are passionate about, right? What we want to do, because time fucking flies. I really want to think about the listener when they listen to my podcast, and I want to have some cool messaging. And sometimes it's deeper than others, but there's always something we're going to get about it. And I really want to make sure that if you're going to spend, the average length of our podcast is 10 to 15 minutes. If you're going to spend 15 minutes with us, I want to make sure you're getting something from it, because I value that time. My wife the other day, a couple months in, she goes, "What are you getting from this podcast?" Because she's looking at, how we're doing it, and I'm putting a lot of effort behind it and throwing some dollars and some energy. And, she's like, "Well, but what are you really getting from it?" And I'm like, everything. I'm getting everything from it. But it's hard sometimes for someone to understand who's on the outside of what you're doing. She gets me. She's been with me for 22 years, 96. Yeah, 22 years. She gets me. But she doesn't always understand everything. And nor should she. She's got a great job. She works really hard for the federal government. I understand it. I don't get it, because that's not what I would do. But I totally understand that it's her gig and that's what she's really good at and it's important to her. And sometimes that's enough, right? It's helped us have a great life for ourselves. There's times where it's gotten me through when my business has hit the bed and I'm rebuilding and stuff like that. If it wasn't for her having a great job and her being a strong person, right? Wouldn't have got through it, right? See things through the other side, right to the end, guys. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about in episode 100. At the end of the day, I'm pretty proud of myself, pretty proud of Luke, pretty proud to have this thing going on, because we said we were going to fucking do it. Put everything else aside. Who gives a fuck what other podcasts are doing? Who gives a shit what other business owners are doing? What we're doing is that we said we were going to do this. We sat down, we had a conversation. We said, let's do this. Let's do this many podcasts that will be released per week. Let's record this many per week to stay on top of things. Let's get better at it. We've both gotten better at it. That's the thing. That to me is the milestone. That's the awesomeness, right? And I'm excited because that means we're going to drive that shit into the next 100, 200, 500 episodes, right? YouTube, our episodes are on YouTube. We have more people following. We have more people watching and stuff, right? The heavy lifting is always at the beginning, and that's what a lot of people are afraid of. They just don't want to do the heavy lifting. But those are the same fuckers that when you've hit your 500th episode, right, if, we get to the point, and I want to get to the point where I have 1,000 downloads a day. I want to get to the point where I have, 1 million people listening to us and 200,000 people following us on YouTube. Those are goals I have. How we're going to get there exactly, I don't fucking know. Right? But what's going to happen when we do get there, and like I said, when we do get there, not if, is you're going to have these fucking clowns around you that said, hey, listen, you were lucky. Right? Oh yeah, he's lucky, he did it because, he had the gym and that made it easy for him. Fuck you. But that's what they're going to say rather than, be there. They weren't there from the beginning, or they don't want to believe that you had to stumble and eat shit and sit there and wonder where people are and what you have to do to get more listeners. And is my message good enough, right? You're exposing yourself. You're sitting yourself out there and am I good enough? Well, I'll tell you 100 episodes later, I feel really good enough. Not cocky, but really good enough. So now when I'm in front of a video camera and I talk even better. If I'm standing in front of a crowd addressing them about something, I address the shit out of them. And it's only going to get better because I'm excited. There's momentum, the passion, right? And the skill set. We're just getting fucking better. But none of that happens without episode 1. You can't celebrate episode 100 without episode 1. You cannot celebrate losing 100 pounds without losing the first pound. You cannot celebrating 100-pound PR on your bench without getting to the first 1-pound PR on your bench. It's that simple. It really, really is. You've got to start. You got to take action, and you got to work hard through it. You got to push through it, and you got to sweat it out, and you have to be focused, and you have to be determined that I'm going to do this no matter what. And if you do this, it doesn't matter what you're doing it with, right? The skills that you do, once you start acquiring that skill set to do it in one thing, you can move it over to your other aspect of your life. So that's what I do now. I look at, okay, what's the other area of my life I want to bring up, whether it's personal, it's business, right? And I take that same set of rules that I've been following, start, be consistent, show up, right? Courageous patience, grin and bear it. I'm the fucking problem. Don't worry about being perfect. These same rules, these same things that we did a little video series on. If you follow these things, and no matter what you do, you're going to get better at it. And then it just creates more momentum. And then the next thing you attack, it gets better quicker because you're better at it. Not just on the confidence, but on the skill set. So to me, guys, that's what the celebration of the 100th episode is recognizing the fact, and paying homage to episode 1. Guys, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Head on over to iTunes. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a review. Any questions, kurthaas@gmail.com. Head on over to hostilegear.com. Find something you like. Use a Silverback as a code word and save 20%. And here's to another 100, 200, 500, and 1,000 episodes. Work hard, motherfuckers. I'll talk to you later.